Ministries of Fisheries and Aquaculture. In the MPP manifesto and in many other initiatives of the past, there was a program of building landing sites and storage facilities, Cape Coast, Mountford, Teshie, Exim, Keta, Ada, Jamestown. Can we have your commitment on a continuation of this, and why will you pursue it? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before I came before you this morning, I have had the opportunity to look through some contractual agreements that were supposed to have been for the development of these landing beaches. The West African Regional Fisheries Program also had something to do with these landing beaches. I have cited a lot of documents. I'm yet to go into the ministry, and so when I get there, I'll study the documents and ensure that our manifesto promise of building landing beaches are adhered to.
Chairman, will the nominee tell this committee, will you build landing beaches and where?
Mr. Chairman, we'll build landing beaches. We are going to build landing beaches. From Mountford, Keta in the Volta region, Teshie, and then also Quaye. We did not capture that, but we'll do that also in Quaye, where I come from.
Chairman, we have heard Quaye, we have heard Keta. What
yes,
of Winneba and Jamestown?
We are going to also we are going to also establish landing beaches in Jamestown. In fact, Jamestown was earmarked for a fishing harbor, actually. And so we are going to ensure that a fishing harbor is developed at Jamestown. We earmarked 14 places, 14 landing beaches to develop. And so we are going to adhere to that.
What plans do you have to improve access to premixed fuel for the fisher folks?
Mr. Chairman, I'm privileged to receive this question from you. The premixed fuel is the procurement and distribution of premixed fuel is fraught with a lot of problems. Chief amongst these problems are the diversion of the premixed fuel. There's also the adulteration of the product. What I intend to do is to ensure that our laws are enforced. Our laws in the procurement and distribution of this premixed fuel are enforced. We intend to do a lot of stakeholder consultations. We intend to devolve a lot of the powers of the Fisheries Commission into the hands of the fisherfolk. If the fisherfolk become watchdogs of their own, then of course this premixed fuel will not be diverted, it will not be adulterated. We'll also ensure that our monitoring, control, and surveillance and enforcement unit is strengthened to do the surveillance and the enforcement of our laws. So we would employ a lot of people. We will employ people who would go around our regional, the regions. We will allocate, regions to certain coordinators, people who are going to ensure that when the premixed fuel is procured and is been designated for a particular landing beach, that premixed fuel, gets to its destination, and then we get the feedback from the coordinator or the representative there that we have put there. We ensure that the premixed fuel gets to its destination, and then we get a feedback that it has actually got to where we intended for it to be.
Honorable Afoley, Quaye. Congratulations.
Thank you, Honorable.
Yes. My first question, Honorable, the country is not self-sufficient in the supply of fish. I learned that the country imports fish worth over 200 million annually. Honorable, if given the nod, what measures will you put in place to reduce fish imports and save foreign exchange for other development needs?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. We have as a nation, we have a huge fish production deficit. We produce annually about 440,000 metric tons of fish, when we should actually be producing close to 1 million metric tons. And so our fish production deficit is around 50%. What I intend to do is to ensure that we have a fisheries management plan in Ghana. The fisheries management plan is made up of certain guidelines that should guide us as to how to improve upon our fish production. We can, to ensure that we increase our fish production, we can reduce the fishing efforts, our marine fishing efforts, and then our inland fishing efforts in the capture fisheries. We have started already with the industrial fishers. They have already observed, in January they observed their close season. We call it a moratorium because there's a marine protected area within which the industrial fishers cannot fish, but they are allowed to fish within a certain area. And then for the semi-industrial fishers, at the moment they are observing a 2-month close season, which was started on the 3rd of February and will end on the 31st of March. We also intend to rope in the artisanal fishers in the close season because we realize that it is the small pelagics which they fish that are overexploited, that are over-depleted in our waters. And so we also intend to have some consultations with the artisanal fishers to have a close season.
One other thing I'm interested in is in aquaculture. I personally have nurtured the desire to be able to have one, but I realize that investors in aquaculture are always frustrated by the multiple number of permits that is required to undertake the venture. Honorable, if given the nod, how do you intend to address this concern of shortening the length of time in acquiring these permits? Thank you.
Investors have been complaining about the length of time in acquiring the permits. And so what we intend to do is to set up an interministerial or intersectorial committee, which will be comprised of the Environmental Protection Agency, where an investor will go to, an investor who wants to enter into pond culture will go to for environmental impact assessment certificates, and also to the Water Resources Commission for a water user certificate, and then to the Fisheries Commission for a fisheries certificate or permit. And so what we intend to do is to bring together all these groups under one roof so that we'll have a committee, an interministerial committee that will take care of all these issues at a go.
The country celebrates Farmers' Day annually. But it is interesting, an award deserving farmers and fishermen. But it is interesting to note that in the past 2 years, the celebration, there's a special celebration for the fishing sector. Don't you think it's a duplication? And may I know if you intend to continue with this celebration, the one for the fishing sector?
I guess the reason for this festival, this fisheries festival, is because the Farmers' Day does not give enough attention to the fishermen during the award ceremony. And so that was why this festival was started in the first place. But what I intend to do is to bring together the Fishers Festival and then the Farmers' Day in order not to spend too much on the festivals, so that in doing so, we'll ensure that the fishers' needs or awards are addressed fully, so that they will also feel a part of the system. The Farmers' Day is captured Farmers' Day, which means the fishers are not really acknowledged. And so if we could also have a change of name by including the farmers and fishermen holiday or festival, then that would also solve the problem.
Let me do a follow-up. You are done, but would you advocate for fishermen's holiday in addition to the Farmers' Day, or what is the proposition?
Mr. Chairman, I would say no to that.
Afoley, Quaye, what is she going to do specifically to stop the use of lights in fishing?
Light fishing, it has depleted our fish stocks. It's also, light fishing is done with aggregating device, an aggregating device that aggregates the fish, and after the fish has been aggregated, some obnoxious materials, some chemicals, dynamites are poured on the fish in order to capture all the fish at once. And this is poisonous to the consumer. It doesn't help, it shortens the shelf life of the fish as well. And so the law, it has actually been outlawed. And so if anybody is found contravening this law, the law enforcement agencies will deal with that person. What I also said was that we'll empower our Navy, we'll help the Navy we'll acquire some patrol boats for the Navy to ensure that patrolling our waters is intensified. What we also intend to do is we have a fisheries collaboration management plan being drafted. What the Fisheries Collaborative Management Plan intends to do is to devolve some of the powers of the Fisheries Commission into the hands of the fisherfolk. So what will happen is that the fishermen will become their own watchdogs, and they will have the right to arrest colleague fishermen who are engaged in this practice.
Let me say, it's become almost an annual occurrence of tidal waves. And when it happens, our fisher folks lose their boats, their canoes, their nets, and their outboard motors. What do you intend to do to alleviate the suffering of our fisher folk when they go through this?
With the tidal waves that destroys the canoes and also takes away some of the canoes, we intend to educate our fisherfolk. There's a tidal wave calendar that has been produced, which gives the timings of the tidal waves. And so we intend to educate our fisher folk on this. We intend to provide them with visuals that will help them to understand the tidal waves, so that at the time that the tidal waves are coming, they will know where to pitch their canoe. What we also want to do is to facilitate the development of these landing beaches, so that we'll have places where the canoes will be fixed, so that when the tidal waves come, it will not be taken away.
Tema, like you already know, is an industrial hub for both artisanal and industrial fishing. And that is my constituency. I've had a lot of complaints from the artisanal fishermen that the industrial trawlers, they don't normally fish in their exclusive zones. They come deep down where these artisanal fishermen do their fishing expedition, which is invariably affecting their catch. Can you share with us how you're going to help to really streamline so that they make sure they do their fishing within their exclusive zones, so that artisanal fishermen can also have their share of the catch within their respective operational area?
The fishery law requires that the artisanal fishers fish within the 6 nautical miles distance and within 30-meter depth. And also with the trawlers, they go beyond this and trawl within 70-meter depth. So for an industrial fisher to come all the way into the 30-meter depth means an infraction of the law. And so the law has to deal with such a contravener.
Mr. Chairman, in July 2011, the Global Environmental Facility gave the Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture $3.5 million. Then the International Development Association also added $50.3 million. So altogether it's about $53.8 million. This money was meant for the development of aquaculture, fisheries, and aquaculture development. And within this, in my constituency, the boatyard is to be rehabilitated, because when you come to the inshore practice, that is where they normally repair their boats. And for all this while, this facility has gone bad. Can you assure us that when you are recommended by this committee, then to the plenary for approval, you will assist the fishermen to make sure that the boatyard is fixed so that production of fish will be enhanced? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I'm not aware. I haven't cited this document. I'm yet to go into the ministry. When I get there, I'll study the document, evaluate it, and take a decision.
The use of foreign vessels. Some are very old. In fact, I had the opportunity to send some young people from my constituency to go and fish using these fishing vessels brought by foreigners, Chinese, Koreans, and so on. And they came back with very horrible stories. Some of them are very old, as I said, rickety. There can be accidents anytime. What would you do to ensure the safety of those who go fishing on these vessels? How will you regulate the importation or the activities of these vessels so that we can save lives, especially lives of our young people who are eager to work but find themselves working in very bad situations on the sea.
These China boats are creating a lot of problems for our fisher folk. What I want to talk about first is even with their registration, how they get into our waters. Unfortunately, some Ghanaians front for them because we don't register foreign trawlers. What the Ghanaians do is to have a shoddy agreement with these vessels because of lack of employment. Because when these China vessels come, they also get some employment. And so they enter into very bad, unprofessional agreements. What we intend to do first is to ensure that we don't take them out of employment, because our intention is to create a lot of employment for our people. What we would rather do is to find ways of ensuring that whatever agreement they enter into, it becomes very professional. We involve some legal entities to, when the Ghanaians and then the Chinese want to enter into the agreement, they enter into proper agreements. That would be the first thing. And then we would have to, because most of them berth at the harbor, we'll have an approach. The approach to solving the problem of bad or rickety vessels is to come together with the Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, and also with the Ghana Revenue Authority, and then the Fisheries Commission, to ensure that when these vessels come, they are inspected and we are sure of their seaworthiness before they even go to sea.
Safety of the consumers of fish. As a result of the Ghana embarking on a very large oil and gas activities, sometimes it results, or we experience spillage. Spillage can happen. And I remember some time ago we experienced that our fishes were dying and whales were dying, and we were all alarmed. Much as we want our oil and gas industry to survive and expand and give us the needed foreign exchange, we also want to protect the lives of those who would be using or feeding themselves with fish from our waters. What preventive measures would you adopt to ensure that we consume wholesome fish and not poisonous ones?
From the western region all the way to Aplau in the Volta region, our marine front has been zoned for oil blocks. And for every, I stand to be corrected, but for every 7 explorations, for every 10 explorations, about 7, they are successful in about 7. And so at a point, Ghana would have to decide whether we want fish or we want oil. We'll have to undertake a marine spatial planning to ensure that we zone certain areas for fishing and other areas for oil exploration.
There's an ongoing project in the central region. In fact, it makes us so happy. There is an establishment of a fisheries college at Anamabo. I don't know if you are aware, but if you are, what are your plans for the college?
I am aware that there's a school, a fishery school developing in Anamabo. The school hasn't taken off yet. It is yet to take off. It also has a curriculum to train extension officers in fisheries and also train people, industry players. And so we are going to ensure that this laudable effort by the previous government is supported so that the fisheries college at Anamabo will come into fruition.
Most of us are so passionate about women, and we want to find out if you have plans for women in fishing value chain.
About 90% of our fisher folk are women. From the time that the fish is landed, women take over the handling of the fish. All the way along the fish value chain to when the fish gets to the consumer's table, women are involved. We want to intensify our fisheries extension services delivery. At the moment, we don't have enough staff in that area. And so that's why the Anamabo Fisheries College is being developed. The University of Ghana is already training people in fisheries. But we also need, because we need a lot of people in that area, would also ensure that Anamabo Fisheries College is developed so that we'll improve upon our fisheries extension delivery. Would educate the fisher folk along the fish value chain on improved methods of handling fish. When the skin of the fish, for instance, is broken, it shortens the fish shelf life. So we would improve upon our extension service delivery. We'll educate them to ensure that they know what and what not to do. And then with fish processing, there are various methods of fish processing. One fish processing method that is so popular with our people is the choco smoker, which was or is an improvement upon the traditional fish processing oven. By the grace of God, we have been able to identify, with the help of the FAO and the Netherlands Development Corporation, to create another type of fish smoking oven, two other types of fish smoking ovens, the FTT Thiaroe and also the Ahunto oven, which are also improvements on our choco smoker. The deforestation that is going on with regards to fish smoking should be reduced. And so these improved methods of fish smoking are intended to reduce the over-reliance on our forestry.
Saying about our fishermen, and there are times that they become so vulnerable when they go fishing. I'm not too sure if you have plans to provide them with any form of insurance.
Insurance for our fisher folk has been piloted by the previous government. We'll look at the documents, study it, and improve upon it.
We all know the advantages, sustainability. The green movement is excited about it because then it helps us, leave the fishes alone for some time, especially the tiny ones and all of that, allow them to grow so that the fingerlings can become ready. What will be your special program for aquaculture as it relates to job creation for the youth? Because that is really a great potential that we are yet to tap into as a nation.
Early on, I said that we're going to form an inter-ministerial committee to ensure that any investor that wants to enter into aquaculture has a one-stop permit to facilitate his project. We intend to increase employment in that area. So at the moment, aquaculture provides about 50,000 metric tons of our total fish production. We intend to increase it to about 100,000 metric tons.
I would now want to discuss your manifesto with you. You promise on page 54 of your manifesto that you will eliminate import duties for fishing equipment like nets and outboard motors. Can you tell this committee when Ghana should expect this total elimination of all import duties on fishing equipment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We intend to do this in the next year, by 2018.
The distribution of outboard motors. That was a very popular program under President Mahama. The records show that over 3,000 outboard motors over the last 5 years have been distributed to fisher folks. How do you intend to continue this program and to expand it to the benefit of our fisher folks?
Mr. Chairman, we'll continue. We'll continue with those laudable efforts.
How do you intend to implement the one district, one factory in the fishing industry?
I started, talking about the fish smoking ovens. It's a way of developing our fish processing, developing our fish processing efforts. And so we intend to go on with that. Already started setting up such a factory.
Most fisher folks want to go into this cage fishing. And in most of the places, they want to do it in the northern part of the Volta Lake. Unfortunately, they raise the fingerlings around Akosombo area. So transporting them from Akosombo to the north, like Bupe and before they get there, the fingerlings are dead. Will you consider establishing the raising of fingerlings along the banks of the lake so that it will encourage the cage fishing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Exactly so. That's what we are going to do.
Poverty is very high with the fishing along the fishing areas, mostly with the fisher folks. What are the measures you're going to put in place to make sure that at least you raise their standards of living?
There's this assertion that fishermen are poor. I do not think so. Maybe we would have to educate them to do what they are doing better and improve upon their business. We would have to educate them to have a business attitude towards their fishing. And that's how they are going to make it more in that area.
I have a question on shrimp farming. And I want to find out whether, I didn't find it in your manifesto. What will you do to promote? Yes, because I know that the erstwhile John Mahama-led administration started something about it. What will you do there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not aware that a shrimp production facility has been started. I'll look at it and then we'll improve upon it.
We have approved nets for fishing. And we have a task force that ensures that the wrong nets are used. No wrong nets are used. Unfortunately, the availability of the correct and approved ones is a problem. What are you going to do so that it is not just the task force chasing those using the wrong nets, but that the approved nets are available for the people who want to do fishing?
We actually have a plan to establish fish input production plants in Ghana. We want to set up, also as a way of creating employment for the people, we want to set up fish production plants in Ghana. And so we are going to make frantic efforts to invite investors in that area. I am aware that some fishermen go to sea with the wrong nets. By enforcing our fisheries management laws, we'll get those people to change their bad ways.
We have reports that tuna, just canned tuna exports, amounted to about $219 million in 2016. And we're also aware that, not under your watch, in previous years, and I'm sure that's why I referenced the chief director, when you get into office, thankfully through this committee and parliament, there was a BNI investigative report on the allocation of premixed fuel and the usual Ghanaian favoritism of looking at colors of persons and not dealing with this matter. And the problem persists. For the fishermen, what they want is to be able to have their premix. There is a cabal operating within the premix fuel arena that, as minister, we expect you to deal with head-on should you get the mandate of this committee and parliament. Can we be assured?
With the help of the national security, we are assured that all the diversions and all the problems you have enumerated are going to be solved.
In the heat of the campaign around trade fair and Teshi, you are very, very vociferous on energy sector levy and how that should be reduced, for tariffs to be reduced, including electricity. Do you still stand there, or you have a new position on those matters?
I still stand on my grounds.
And that the people of Teshi and others can expect reduction in tariffs?
Yes.
When I was growing up at Quaye, there was a season every year where herrings, were in such abundance that every family ate fufu in the morning. It just occurred to me that in the last about 10 or 15 years, I've not observed this abundance anymore. You are a coastal girl. What is the reason? Do you know why?
This is a big problem with the fishing industry. We have said time and again that the fishery resources are overexploited, they are overcapitalized. And also with the IUU, too much is being done to our resource. So that's why we have to implement all the management plans, including the close season, including the stoppage of this IUU, to replenish our stocks.
Retire from Parliament soon, and I want to go into fish farming. Well, what help can I expect from your ministry?
You want to enter into fish?
I want to rear catfish.
Catfish.
What help can I expect from your ministry?
And cater school boys.
Mr. Chairman, you can come and see my Fisheries Commission staff, and they'll take you through it.